Technically, everyone in On the Run Meals is an owner of their position. Do I know how I spend my money? No. Because I literally didn't fucking know how to send an email. You go home, eat, get to fucking work. I don't care if you love to sleep. Do you love money?
Yeah.
Then stop fucking liking sleep. Trust me, I'll become a doctor. For health purposes, 6 hours.
6 hours?
6 hours. Fuck off. Could have gone the other fucking way. You just left, you asshole. Put that on camera. You don't need to know anything. We're always pretending as if we're on day one and we know nothing. I'm way past that. If OTR today fails, tomorrow fucking get hit by a fucking meteor and we just filmed this, we're talking about success, tomorrow I'm failed.
So everybody knows Galin as owner of OTR, but before that moment when you started OTR, who were you before? Where did you come from? Tell us your story.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm a high school dropout, first and foremost. I don't have any post-secondary schooling. Throughout my life, I more or less half-assed my approach with everything I did. So really, if I were to collectively put it into one thing or sum it up, I was personal training, high-end clients. So there was a point where, I knew I had this knowledge because the one thing that I did take seriously was my health and fitness, because I saw that, how do I say it? The return, like the ROI from it, because you naturally get stronger every day, you get bigger every day, or whatever that goal may be. So that's what inspired me more or less to like kind of look into and read and educate myself about becoming a personal trainer. And I never necessarily worked for any big box gym like Good Life or LA Fitness or any of those. I just bounce around from gym to gym training individuals, and I essentially my whole life I've always wanted to bring, whether it be my family, friends, or just anyone in life, value. I'm a value-driven individual. So once I saw that I was bringing this value proposition to my clients, it slowly started growing. But time is always against us. So I did hit a plateau where like I was able to, get up to 10 to 15, depending on the time of personal clients that was running around in personal training. But what I had noticed was that they were struggling with the other 23 hours that I wasn't with them.
Right.
So.
And how long did you do all this personal training?
I got into it after I did a bunch of courses online. I did a bunch of personal fitness shows where it's all about your physical attribute, like how you look. So they pretty much score you on your physique and your appearance, not necessarily your health. And after that, I saw that I had a passion for it. And then because I educated myself and I got a bunch of certificates, it enabled me again to like pass on this knowledge to people that didn't know this, right? And once again, I'm a value-driven individual that likes to inspire people to become the best version of themselves. So I felt like that this was one of those value propositions that I can offer.
Totally.
While being paid.
Of course, obviously. And is this like, what was the spark that inspired you to start OTR Meals?
I mean, again, back to my first point where I was telling you how I half-assed my life. Even with the personal training thing, I did provide them value and I really did try to help them. But what I didn't do was think about the future and how I can scale this, right? So I never really thought about, creating online programs. I didn't really think about, potentially getting a space in a studio and actually having all my clients meet me there. I wasn't really like driven to make more of it. And one of the challenges that I had faced, or excuse me, my clients had faced, was that the 23 hours out of the day were more important to them than the hour that I was with them. So every hour I'd go to train them, what we ended up spending was me educating them on how to eat properly, what not to eat, and what you should be consuming on a daily basis. So I felt like I was taking their money for like as I was providing them the value and the education to, you know, how to do it, I felt like I was taking their money for just hanging out with them for that hour. So like it stepped aside from personal training and more just coaching. And then at that point, again, I wasn't fulfilling my, how do I say it, my true potential.
Right.
And I felt like I was capped at a certain point. So, you know, I was enlightened about meal delivery services. I looked into it. At that time, I was, you know, cooking for myself. Was I a chef? No. They were very basic meals. But I did understand the importance of having these meals prepared for you to save the time, because that was one of my problems as well. As I was going from client to client, I was always having, you know, the problem of what to eat, so I was skipping meals. And then obviously as I'm driving, I'm looking left and right and noticing, you know, your fast fix. And every fast fix was, you know, McDonald's, whatever. I don't even want to name those establishments because, yeah, they're horrible for you. So with that being said, you know, I fulfilled a need for my clients, and they were the ones that ended up becoming my first clients for OTR. And
do you remember your first client?
I do. It's two of my best friends. You know how it is. It's always your friends that support you. And oddly enough, it wasn't just friends that wanted to support me because they just wanted to support me. It was they needed it, and they were. Did
you give them for free, or
no?
Did they actually?
Actually, they paid. Yeah, they actually paid.
See, that's really important.
Yeah.
It's so often like what happens is somebody's an entrepreneur and their friend is like, you know, you're just my friend, you know, you got that new T-shirts, can I have one? But if you're a real friend, support them, right?
Of course.
That's really important.
Exactly.
So they
didn't ask for any discounts. Again, there wasn't really much of a high price at that point. It was just like basic meals. At that time, I believe I was doing it for like $9 a meal or $8 a meal, $10 a meal. I didn't really understand costs of goods sold at that time. I was just more or less beta testing it, seeing if I can provide this. So this was like March of 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a little turning point. You know, there was this, you know, a point in my, I don't remember exactly the day, but I remember the day exactly. And it was, I went to my best friend, Michael, and he was the one that I'm always able to become vulnerable with. And, you know, I broke down to him and I told him that I felt I wasn't fulfilling my true potential, and I just didn't like who I was, and I just, you know, I just wanted to kind of grow, and I didn't understand what I really wanted, which was growth or the potential to grow. But you know, he more or less, you know, we had this conversation. We had a couple beers downstairs. He had a bar under his condo. I ended up sleeping on his couch that night. Him and his wife, he woke up the next day and, you know, came to make me breakfast. And they saw like, you know, an empty couch with, you know, a couple, you know, covers that they gave me folded up.
Yeah.
And that was the day I started. I mean, I didn't look back ever since, you know. It was just like, we had that conversation like, you know, I want to do this. And he's like, okay, so.
You had a passion for it.
Yeah. And the passion really came from, again, you know, wanting to provide people value. And I saw that this value proposition could change people's lives, right? So I wasn't worried about how I was going to make it the best. I was just worried about starting.
I would say that, I don't know if you agree with me, a very important trait for an entrepreneur is actually, you don't do it for the money, you do it for actually you wanting to give value to people. You want them to be useful, right?
100%.
And for your case, that's how it's been. That's what it seems like.
100%. Once again, value. Value is like the only thing I think about is like, even in my friendships, right? You're having these conversations with, you know, certain friends, and I'm analyzing them these days and seeing like, am I really inspiring these people, you know, to either become a better person, or am I making them happy, or am I educating my friends on something that I could educate them directly that could change their lives or could inspire them to become, you know, better in that aspect of their lives.
Totally.
You know, so like, and vice versa. You know, the people that I interact with, I feel like, you know, it's a two-way street. I should be taking some as well, right? Like, from friendships to like partnerships to anything in life, I believe we as individuals should always look how we can either teach or bring value of some sort to somebody else, right?
To the world,
without looking for a return of anything, you know?
There's also saying that the world is like a Play-Doh, like a plastiline. I don't know how to say it. Yeah. And you can like twist it, you can turn it the way you want. Like, And just like you, it's actually not hard to impact. As if you understand that it's possible, it's like.
Well, you can impact anybody with
like here,
yeah, exactly. It's your mindset around it, right? It's like, people think that they have to build this huge company to impact people. My company impacts a lot of people on a daily basis, but or on a weekly basis, excuse me. But I believe I have impacted more people than my company, because on a daily basis, I'm always, holding doors for elderly ladies, or just helping people in any way. Like, it's just like anytime I see an opportunity that I feel like, again, it's not taking me off my course of, action, because again, I got to be very strategic with how I put my time out there. But if I see a return and I see that I am bettering somebody, or I've given a piece of advice to somebody that somebody ran off with and applied and they showed me the result, I want to invest in that.
Absolutely.
It's like the most rewarding feeling.
Where do you start? What is the process?
The process normally starts with an order, but I mean, you can look at it in many different ways, but normally it comes in with an order. So our admin team will just capture that order. We have systems put in place where they get streamlined to different departments. So it's, in pretty much telling the production team, so our executive chef, with how much food that she needs to buy or order and whatnot, to our logistics manager, how many deliveries he has to get ready and how many drivers we need to have on that day for the delivery. So pretty much it's just order comes in, admin gets it, orders go in for us for the products that we need to make these orders happen. Then we get to work, right? We get to the production, a lot of prep, and then after prep we get into a cook. So a bunch of our professional chefs come in, our team of chefs come in, and they cook. Once they cook, we cool down the food because we have to safely cool it down and put it into the containers. Once they're cooled down properly, put it into the containers, portion everything, close the containers, and as you just saw right now, it was the last step, but right before that, we have 2 individuals that pick your meals. So if you chose 2 pasta bolognese, whatever, we'll have 2 people picking those meals, and then they get bagged with your orders. And once that gets done, then we go into the logistical part where we, distribute and have, 15 to 20 drivers coming at.
15 to 20?
Yeah, depending on what day.
Oh, wow. Wait, that's just for each driver is a separate car, right?
Yes.
Yeah, why would you need to?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Do you also have any partners that you work with?
I mean, not at this moment. We handle everything in-house. We have definitely looked at certain partners. We're just looking, I mean, we're scaling very aggressively as always, but we're able to maintain everything, right?
So. What is the next step for OTR? What can we see in 5 years?
Several things.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing for sure, we're definitely looking to double our business this year. So we're looking, again, to go from our average 350 to 400 deliveries every day to, minimum 650 by end of the year, 700.
Can I ask how?
There's several really strategic plans put in place. Once again, our CMO has a couple very well-planned marketing campaigns. But once again, these marketing campaigns aren't just to create an illusion for you to just buy. Like, we're actually providing you with this value proposition. We're educating you from these marketing campaigns on what you're missing out on for your life. So that, and then also several partnerships that are already in the works. But logistically, we're just trying to again, figure it out. And then once we launch those, it's,
game over.
I mean, it's been game over
for everybody else. I mean, you were doing personal training.
Yep.
Then that's where pretty much the inspiration came to do something to pretty much start OTR.
Yes.
To give something healthy, give value, and in a lot of cases, a lot of entrepreneurs, young or old, they face the challenge of getting the funds, getting the capital to start. But there's a saying that person with a passion will go much further than a person that even has the capital to start, right?
100%.
So you might have a passion, but you have nothing, and it's still like you might go much further than the person that even has everything to start, except the passion. So in your case, how did it start? Where did you get your first capital? Was it from personal training?
Yeah, so I mean, my whole life, my mom taught me the importance of saving, right? It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you save. And that's relative to somebody that makes $1,000 a week or $100,000 a week, right? If I have $100,000 a week and I spend $100,000 a week, well, I'm not saving anything, right? Totally. And once again, I saved a little bit of money, yes, which of course, I inputted it into the beta test and, into like the first couple stages. So obviously started at my condo kitchen. So, the condo that I was already paying rent. So it was essentially free to operate out of there. Once I outgrew that and I ended up having to cook more meals, I had to go get like an actual kitchen, which I then subleased off another individual, which then of course rent and overhead started occurring. So I had my own money to carry me through there. And then, like 9 months later, I had ended up acquiring a facility that we're now speaking inside. And
that was, 4 months into the business?
No, this is like 8, 9, 10 months after.
10 months.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, everything's been organically grown.
Why is it, if you can say like one or two words, why is it that's been just
organically grown? Why? Because again, less is more. Sometimes when you have all the resources without all the knowledge, you won't understand how to apply those resources.
That's right.
And it's not something that I knew back then, but what I did know back then is if I work my hardest with the right intention and actually put like the real energy behind it, like what I had envisioned On The Run Meals to be today, I'll get there one way or another. So, again, I've educated myself on, I've gone through a lot of personal development moments, and one of them was, one thing that kind of stood out to me was like, success is made up of failures. Totally. There is no such thing as success without failures, and I was eager to fail. And one thing that I never scared me was to fail or embarrass myself. So every time I did fall and fail or embarrass myself or whatever, we got that code red call or something. Was cold when it was supposed to be hot, or something was, whatever it may be, it inspired me because I saw an opportunity to learn from that moment. So, that's what kept me going, and that's what keeps me going every day, is like solving problems.
So, you as an entrepreneur, you're quite inspiring, even for me, because I know where you started. I know how it all happened, and see now you driving my dream car, pretty much. You stole my dream.
Thank you.
And stuff. What is that trait that every entrepreneur should have? What is that trait that makes a person an entrepreneur? Why would you say this?
Being able to eat the shit.
Definitely. That's a good point.
That's it. Like, it has nothing else.
You're gonna get that shit.
Because there's a lot of people that can throw a punch, but it's just, how many times can you get punched? It sounds corny, it sounds cheesy, but fuck's sakes, man, I've been
that's really what it is, right?
Exactly. I've been beat up by this business many times over, emotionally, financially, physically, to a point where I was packing meals literally on those tables, the tables that we have, like on my knees, because I had a kink on my back and I literally couldn't lift my arms like this, so I had to
But you had to do it. You had people waiting and stuff.
And
that's the thing you would, I guess.
Forgetting about excuses.
Forgetting about excuse, that's a big one.
It's just,
that's a big one. And I would say, I might sound like Gary Vaynerchuk, but this is so underestimated.
The most underrated thing in the world.
Like, actually, like, excuses are just like, it's the worst that can happen, because in the back of your mind, in your conscience, you will actually think that this is true, what you just said, but actually it's not true.
Of course.
It's crazy, and
then you live within a lie, and you never really
what you believe is true. It's crazy how it can work. Even from our practice, we used to blame like everything. You can't blame everything.
Hold on, you can always blame someone else and something else. Of course, there's circumstances.
Accountability is crazy.
Okay, it gets to the point where, like, Tom Billy taught me this. He says some crazy stuff like, if a meteor came and hit my wife.
That's not what's gonna happen.
Like, what are the probabilities of this happening? But if it did, he feels responsible. he feels like he could have done something differently. He could have, like, he takes that responsibility. He doesn't make an excuse and say, oh, well, it was because of me. Like, that's how you should carry your whole life. Like, anything that bad or good happens to you, take responsibility for it and don't make it about somebody else. Even if your partner had let you down, 100%. It's still not an excuse for you to blame him and say, you let me down. You're still using that as an excuse, even though circumstantially he might have let you down. It doesn't matter.
Accountability is, I would say, one of the most important things ever.
Of course, accountability is
it's actually even easier for you personally if you take things like you say that.
It's my fault. It's always my fault. I could have done better. I could have done this.
My sales agent fucked it up. You hired him.
Right.
Like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I mean, take the accountability, right?
Right.
So definitely, that is true. But would you say that also an entrepreneur is being born, like they're raised, right? Maybe you would say, or maybe it's genetical, or maybe it's the people that you're surrounded with.
No, they can be inspired. Many entrepreneurs have been inspired. I had entrepreneurship in me, like inside of me, for one reason, because I came not from a family of not fulfilling needs. I came from a family not fulfilling my wants. And as a kid, we have a lot of wants. So I learned at a very early stage that if I want something, I have to go and friggin' get it. It's not just look to my mom and say, hey, you're not giving me this money to go and play this video game, or giving me this money to go and get the Snickers bar. You know, in one of the early stages of entrepreneurship that one of my best friends, Sam, reminds me of, is the time which I punch myself in the face today about, because these cards are worth, you know, upwards to 300,000 each. But at that time, you know, I couldn't afford one Pokemon pack. They were like $2.30.
Yeah, I remember that.
I couldn't afford one pack. We're talking about packs. Don't ask me how, because I can never remember how. I ended up with a Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. If you know anything about Pokemon, those are the three top.
I don't remember, but I used to have all of them.
They're the top three.
Like 6-1 in the pack, 6-1.
Cool, exactly, they come with 6. I had the top 3 best cards out of all of them. How did I get there? Don't ask me how. But one thing I remember is Sam reminding me of getting there. And him telling me that, I remember you literally were the last person to ever get one Pokemon card, yet you had all 3 of the best ones in that set.
Yeah.
And what did I do with that? This is where my entrepreneurship started. This was my first real deal. I sold it to a kid that brought his father to pay for it. And I was in grade 6, and I got $230 in grade 6 for these 3 cards that are now worth, I don't want to talk about. But regardless, I bought them for $200. I got $230, and which I later obviously took, you know, at that time, Pizza had the Toonie Tuesday special, or sorry, Toonie Square combo. And every day I took Sam and my other best friend Tommy for pizza with the $230. So that was my story. But now Sam, on the other hand, reminding me of this story, telling me of how I was a natural entrepreneur, is an entrepreneur himself today. Today he does not have a single job. He has 5 sources of income, right? And he learned that. He learned the fact that, you know, he did a bunch of jobs and he said, hey, I don't want to be controlled by this 9 to 5, or this time that I have to be somewhere, or I can only be there for X amount of time because my employer only gave me 6 hours when I want to be there for 9, right? So like, it's eliminator, and he early found this out, and now he's an entrepreneur himself. So like, it's something that I can be, you know, it's in you, like it's been in me, but I don't owe my success to just because I had traits of an entrepreneur. I owe it because I doubled down on it. I owe it because I learned more and more from other entrepreneurs how to become a better entrepreneur, right? I didn't just become successful overnight because I had a skill or a knack for entrepreneurship. You know, it wasn't just that. It was like, it was the want to become a better entrepreneur by learning off better entrepreneurs, right? So again, it can be taught. You can have a natural knack for it, definitely, and you have to look inwards and bring it out of you. But at the same time, not everyone, it's not for everyone.
100% it's not. It's for people who can actually stand on their knees, you know?
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of people that are gonna get butthurt if somebody's gonna tell them, I don't want your product.
Exactly, and ultimately I believe that, like, you know, entrepreneurship is blown out of proportion. People think it's like the best thing in life, but sometimes you know what? You just need to fulfill your purpose. And if your purpose is a 9 to 5 through this company because you believe in this company, like I have employees that fulfill their purpose within OTR. They don't own the company, but they feel like they're an owner. Why? Because they're owning that part of the business, because they love doing what they're doing for On the Run Meals, right? So technically everyone in On the Run Meals is an owner of their position, right? Like, so they're all more or less entrepreneurs without being an entrepreneur, right? Because they're still told, hey, we need you from this time to this time, right? So like, entrepreneurship's not really for everybody, but at the same time, if you are trying to be one, you know, you just gotta, like I said, eat the shit.
Who are the first people that were under your wing when you started OTR?
Yeah, so once again, you know, Michael was my best friend. He graduated, he went to school for becoming a pilot, you know. He ended up becoming a pilot, which, you know, he was the one, he's like my more or less personal advisor and my inspiration, you know, my first hand to what success looks and feels like. And, you know, he inspired me, and, you know, it started with me and, you know, him and his girlfriend at the time, and then, you know, we brought in one of our friends to kind of help us package meals, and then it came to a point where, you know, it took a 180 turn, and he, at that time, it's a little bit personal, but I wasn't in the right mindset, which again, once again, I'm trying to tell you about Michael. He's way ahead of everybody's time, and he was already in a growth mindset, and I was in a fixed mindset, which kind of clashed with one another, which then resulted in him walking away from the business because we couldn't see eye to eye.
That's very important.
And I didn't really understand the difference between working on the business and building systems and working in the business, which is the operation, right? And because I was in a fixed mindset at that time, I let my ego and pride get in front of me, which then again resulted in us, you know, not really taking this partnership and having it flourish.
Totally.
So he ended up walking away, which now looking back was a blessings in disguise for many reasons. One, it didn't, you know, harm our friendship. Number two, it taught me the lesson.
Are you guys still friends?
Of course.
Okay.
Friends is not the word, it's brothers.
Okay, here you go.
Like, we may be losing friendship, but we're always brothers. You know, it's just
important.
like,
Yeah,
brothers will fight at times and disagree, but at the end of the day, we're brothers. And, you know, it taught me the lesson of, like, you know, when you have your back to the wall, because that moment when he told me, hey, I will no longer be coming in here and blah, blah, blah. You know, I was here by myself in this facility. You know, it taught me one huge lesson, like, you have your back to the corner, you can either fold or start fighting, pushing, right? And
absolutely,
there was no way about it. I already bit off more than I can chew. I was already knee deep in it, and you know what? I just kept fighting.
Do you use OTR Meals?
Do I use OTR Meals? Of course.
Because I know there's a saying that every entrepreneur, every business owner should be the client of their product or service, right? Because you will learn. You can have friends that try it, but they won't think the way you think, right? And stuff. So you're saying you do, right? And has it helped? Has it ever made you change things? Certain different ways?
I mean, there's times where I did not necessarily use OTR the way it's intended to. Because it's intended to make you a better person. It's intended for you to get your time back and whatnot. And that's what, when I was talking about being grateful and understanding the value of On the Run Meals and what we do for you, is like, you know, I lost track of that sometimes because I was so deep in the actual business that I wasn't really worried about myself. I was sacrificing Galin for the business. So I didn't see the value of it because I was so worried about the business. So I was skipping meals. And that's something that we are trying to educate people on through OTR Meals. So oddly enough, I didn't use the service at all times throughout. Now, the service, did I eat the meals every day? Of course. And do I eat it every single day? No, of course not.
And the pasta was your favorite meal.
That's still my favorite.
Yeah, I remember that.
But once again, I mean, I'm at a point where right now, man, time is the most valuable thing, and it always has been.
I
guess
you really appreciate time whenever you really are. If you already have more of something, I guess you have achieved something. I guess when you have the financial freedom, that's when you realize now I was chasing the wrong thing.
Exactly.
I would say that
Right?
that's
So-
how I see it. Yeah.
And the thing is, I technically wasn't chasing the wrong thing because I never really made it about the finances.
Mm-hmm.
I just now understand that I'm at a point where finances isn't the issue. It's time, and
Yeah.
time is the thing that I've been selling the whole time. It's
Definitely.
not that I've been selling just healthy food, but I'm telling you that you're going to take your time back without having to think about it. So now more than ever, I see OTR, how do I say it, 10 times more of value because it's providing me 10 times more of value in my
100%.
life.
A lot of people, when they start a business, I mean, everybody's dream is to do it with their friends. Do it with
course.
their friends.
Of course.
Actually, in my case, I'm with Anton Yakovenko.
Yep.
He's a good partner of mine. And what would you say to people that want to start working with their friends? What is your perspective on it? What is your philosophy? Is this the right thing to do a partnership in a business? Or maybe what to be careful with? What
Yeah.
are the maybe agreements, or what are the things that you would mention?
So oddly enough, that was the pinnacle point, right? This was my best friend. He was supposed to be my partner. We were supposed to go 50-50 on this. After I had started it, he was coming in. We were supposed to go 50-50. And then that more or less blew and didn't work out. But oddly enough, today On The Run Meals is run by a family of friends. So my VP, Justin Woodgett, I went to elementary and middle school and high school with him. He's literally another brother of mine, friend. MJ is our head admin. She's our supervisor, handles all, anything to do with admin work. She's family to me. She's family friend. She, her kids are my kids, essentially. Her husband is my bigger brother, pretty much.
Okay.
Our head chef, our executive chef, she's my girlfriend and partner. My other partner is my brother in the business. So, this business is run by a family and
like
friends.
a family.
So,
It is a family.
starting off with friends, it's establishing roles and responsibilities. It definitely can work. I normally don't advise it because there's always, if it is your first business, for one reason, because there's emotions attached to it.
Totally, 100%.
And it may affect ultimately what is most important, which is your friendship and your brotherhood or your sisterhood or whatever that may be. It's not that I advise you from not doing it, but if I were to look back, I wouldn't have gone in business with my best friend. I would have asked him to be an advisor as I needed, of course, because, again, Michael brought that exponential value to me personally. But again, there are partnerships like you and Anton that do work really well. And I know that you guys have your own level of friction because I've known you guys for some time, but that's not what the problem is. The problem is if you guys can't work past that friction, right? And that,
absolutely,
because I do know that you guys both bring a different perspective. Every time I've
100%.
spoken to you, you guys both bring me a different light to what I do or to whatever you guys
We're
do.
two different people, but we have
But you complement one another.
Exactly, and that's
right?
really important. Seeing, I know that, for example, Anton, he does whatever he does perfect. He's expert in what he does. I do my own thing, and we both go kind of separate maybe path, but we understand what each of us is doing.
But you're on the same road.
But we're on the same road.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
same mission, right?
Exactly. So it's, I think, really important is, I would say, first is to listen what other guy says.
100%.
You will 100% have conflicts. You
100%.
can't go without conflict.
Of course.
It's a business, it's important. Also friendship, right?
But that also brings a value proposition to the business.
Totally.
Because if you guys are a bunch of yes men, you're only going to get a bunch of yeses that turn into real no's, right?
Exactly.
Because you haven't really looked at the no, right?
Exactly.
So that contrary to one another is actually good for the
Totally.
business.
And in our case, it's been great. For example, sometimes what happens is I think I'm like, this is great. This is perfect. Anton comes there and says, this sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, it doesn't suck. And then it turns out it does suck. So Anton was right. And vice versa, It always, it's really good to have each other's back. I think if you can, it's really possible to make partnerships work. And it's important to have, is to listen, understand that there will be problems, will be conflicts. But
I think the most important thing, though, is dropping your ego and pride.
Totally. Yeah.
That's it.
It's
If you guys just drop that and you're able to just
100%, I agree
learn
with you.
from one another, like me, myself, I love always being in a room with people that are 10 times smarter than me, more educated than me. I like being the stupidest one in the room. And by stupidest, I mean like less educated. No one's stupid.
Yeah.
It's just that at that point, I do not understand what they're talking about that particular moment. You know what I mean? And like, I'm able to learn. But if I'm always in a room with a bunch of people that are always listening to me, what am I really gaining from that? So with that partnership, you do know that he's got a value proposition for you. You do, or excuse me, for the business that you guys are working on, right? And for you, because you're learning off of him, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
The way I see you guys, you know, he's the creative director, you're the operations, right?
Yeah.
And that's same thing with me and my girl, right? Like she's creative and, you know, I'm operations. So when I see something, I see it in an operational mindset. I'm seeing it like broken down with numbers. How does it flow? How does this like, can we streamline it? Can we, where she's like, this doesn't look good, or this doesn't look good. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm not really seeing it. But then obviously when I get into, you know, when I listen and I actually take in what she's saying, you're able to see what she's saying.
Exactly.
Right? Because
Exactly.
you're listening, you're stepping
Exactly.
aside from your thought process,
Exactly.
your perspective.
You will always have your own position
course,
to things.
of
But
course.
if you're actually gonna step a bit side and you just look, maybe he's right. Just say to yourself in mind, maybe he's right.
Of course, and there's
then
no
you're
right one way to do
Because
right
we
things
always-
or one way to do
Exactly.
wrong
We
things.
always want to prove each other that somebody's a bit better than other, right? Like,
But that's what I'm talking about. If you
Exactly.
drop your ego and you drop your pride,
that's 100%
those two
right.
things. Any friends and every friend can get into business
Yeah.
if you're able to drop those two things.
Exactly. For you, it
Right.
was great. You understood that this is the right way. This was the right thing. You were still able to keep the relationship, which is really important. It's worth more than even the business. That's how I
course.
assume.
Of course.
And it worked out very great. You have a girlfriend that you work with, and it's just interesting that for some people think that having been in relationship and working on the same business can be really hard sometimes, even impossible. It can be toxic for some
Definitely.
people, right? So what is your philosophy on this?
Well, our story's a little bit different. Just like everything in the business, everything was built organically.
So what's her position?
Her position is the executive chef.
Executive chef, right?
And she's also part owner as well. She's had a vested interest since 2016 with the company. She more or less is a huge reason to the success of Galin and On the Run Meals. I owe a lot to her. But once again, Sasha and I did not start as one. We were working towards our one goal collectively.
Right.
And you know, it took about a year and a half, you know, of us working side by side, not even looking at her in any other manner, but you know, just a level of respect that we had for one another.
Definitely.
And because we had this level of respect and awe, like we were awed by one another. We were like so like, how do I say this? Amazed by one another, and we made each other feel 10 times better about ourselves. We inspired each other, that it then led into a relationship. You know, and again, that was spontaneous. That was like organic. It wasn't something that we had to force at any time or you know, be weird about. It was just, again, if you ask me how did it happen, I really can't tell you what day it happened. It's like, you know, I've been so busy with the one thought process, which is value, that I kind of forgot when and how things happened. They just happened, you know?
Totally.
And again, it's because I had great intentions, she had great intentions, and collectively we became together, you know? And now, how is it working with her? It has, like anything, it's plus and minuses. You know, at the first year, and she definitely will be listening to this one day, so she will definitely agree with this. From day one, when we started dating, never lied to her. I told her I'm unable to be the best boyfriend that I aspire to be one day for you today. Why? Because my time and dedication to OTR was far greater than myself and her. I put OTR in front of myself at that time because OTR needed me too, because I was OTR. So, you know, obviously as years went on, and you know how far we've come, you know, living from our basement apartment for a year and a half to then later going up north to Newmarket where you came and visit us that one time. You know, us traveling an hour and a half because we couldn't afford rent, right?
Yeah.
You know, we faced a lot of challenges, but you know, we've gotten to the point where first and foremost, we knew we were a great team. We knew we complemented one another. We just, you know, kind of rode that ship, and whatever happened, whatever challenge came in front of us, we knew we were going to overcome it. So again, I don't necessarily advise to it, but at the same time, I don't say it's a bad idea because, you know, we've made it successful, but we've worked towards success. And we currently, every single day, work towards success because, you know, again, as we gain more time back, we know that we got to put more time into us because if we're going to be a thing after On the Run Meals, we need to build ourselves as one as well, right? So like, I mean, it's had its plus and minuses. I might have gone off track there, but it's had its plus and minuses, you know? But ultimately, I couldn't be more grateful for the whole opportunity and the whole experience. I wouldn't change a thing.
Now, going back, you got your money, you started the business. How much money did you have to start everything?
So I mean, not much, right? Because as I mentioned, it was really in my condo kitchen. What did I have to do? I had to get containers, but those containers were, you know, getting sold at that moment.
Were you working at the time
I was kind of easing off of the personal training. I was kind of like, I was in a crossroad, right? When I had that moment with Michael and we had those drinks downstairs in, where his condo is, you know, that was a crossroad, right? There was a point where like I was either gonna, you know, take one direction or the other. I didn't know what direction. And at that moment, when I did take this direction and I took this road, you know, to start making meals, it wasn't really much cost, right? It was cost of goods sold. Did I lose a lot of money when I first started? Yes, of course, right? Because I didn't know how much it cost for meat. I didn't even know, you know, that meat, you know, when you buy, say, like a pound, of course, this was 6 years ago, you know, when you buy a pound of raw meat, that it turns into less than a pound. I didn't know this, right? I thought, you know, I got a pound of chicken, I know I'm gonna get 3 portions out of it. By the time I cooked it, I only got 2.5. So
I didn't
half
know that.
yeah, you see, you didn't even know, right? So like, you know, all of these things, how do I say it, costed money, but it was, but learning costs, right?
But it didn't even cost. Like when you think about it, the value that you got out of this lesson, it didn't even cost.
Exactly. It ultimately taught me, right? So how much did it really cost to start this business? Not much. It costed me a lot of time. And
but if you could say a number, approximately, was it
approximately,
like 1,000?
I'd say about, from the rent and this and that, and then, you know, till I got into here with my down payment here, about 50 grand over a year.
Right.
Yeah.
So 50 grand
50,
was
55,
what pretty much 50 grand and the mindset and
a lot of
passion
hours.
And a lot of hours.
A lot of hours. Like 18-hour days from the moment I started. Literally from the moment I started, it was 18-hour days. I haven't stopped.
How did you pretty much break down your 50,000? How did you manage? How much did you put in advertising and stuff? Did you think about all this?
None.
None.
I didn't know what I was doing. Can I tell you where my 50,000 went? No. I can't tell you. I can't tell you any of that. Why? Because I didn't know anything.
Okay.
When I started this business, I didn't know how to send a proper email. And by proper email, did I have emails? Of course. When you sign up to certain newsletters and whatnot, you have an email. But it's because I just want the newsletter or because I want to sign up to an app. Doesn't mean I know how to use my email.
Absolutely.
I just have an email. So what I mean by I didn't know how to write an email, I didn't know how to say, hey, or greetings, blah, 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 and then comma, and then, you know, whatever you're about to say, and then cheers or thank you, or whatever you sign off as, and then your name. I didn't know how to do that before I started my business. So I didn't know anything, like literally nothing when I tell you. So do I know how I spend my money? No. No, that's the thing that like one thing I can, since we're on that note, the one thing I can tell anybody and everybody is like, you don't need to know anything. You just need to know that you want to know and that you're willing to learn. Because I literally didn't fucking know how to send an email.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And here we are.
So would you say it would have been possible to do it for less price?
100%.
If you knew what you were doing.
100%. If I were to start the business today, I would do it 10 times differently. Would I carry the same mindset, work ethic, willingness to lose, everything? Yes, of course. I would carry the same attitude, the same energy, the same everything. But the approach, oh yeah, of course, 10 times different.
Yeah.
I've learned.
So for a person, let's say somebody would want to start, somebody from Toronto, a kid, you think he got inspired today.
Yes.
He wants to make his own place, maybe even a bit better than yours,
Of
right?
course, you could.
And he doesn't know like how much he would need money to start something like this. So you would say that he doesn't need this 50,000 to start.
Of course not.
He would need how much approximately? If you could say 10 grand.
Less.
Start like this. Less?
5 grand. Not even 3 grand. 2
3
grand.
grand. Yeah.
You have a condo. You have a home. You live with your mom. You have an oven. You can start tomorrow, today, anytime.
Exactly.
A box of containers. You go to any superstore, any one of these distributors. $50 a case. You have 150 meals. You're not making more than 150 meals. There's your $50 plus the food cost. Come on. If you have $1,000 in your bank, you can literally go and make a bunch of meals, spend $1,000 instead of buying new clothes or buying whatever the hell you're gonna buy. Invest $1,000, make a bunch of meals, call a bunch of people and say, hey, I got a bunch of food for you to try. Let me know what it is, what you think. Do you like it? And if they like it, then you know, hey, I got something. And if they don't, try again and make it better.
Yeah.
Ask them why I didn't like it. But you can start anytime. I can start anything anytime. I can start any business anytime. Yeah, certain businesses take more resources and more money. I understand that. But you can start working on a business before you get the money and the resources and the plan. Like, if I were, like as I mentioned, I didn't know how to send an email. And then imagine I said, hey, I didn't have the money to start OTR Meals. Well, I can learn how to fucking send an email. I can learn how to cook a chicken breast and understand the weight difference. I can learn a million things that I've learned before even starting the business. So you can start today. You have a job, 9 to 5, great, right? That's okay. You can start today. Because when you're off at 5, you go home, eat, get to fucking work.
Absolutely.
It's very simple. You started the business right there and then.
I don't have enough time on work here, if you're passionate about, right?
You don't have enough time is the biggest fucking lie ever and it's the
Thank
biggest
you.
bullshit ever,
Thank
right?
you so much for understanding this.
Let me tell you something. We all have the same 24 hours a day. And even when I say, oh, time's against me, I look at my day and I notice that I've spent 2.5 hours on Netflix yesterday. I had time. I just chose not to utilize it, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? We always have time. You only need 6 hours of sleep, maximum.
Exactly.
You don't need more.
There's like even Gary Vaynerchuk said, there's so much fucking time.
There's so much time. It's just how you use it.
Exactly.
And eventually you learn to become more productive with your time.
I guess what matters is there's so many different ways for you to have the routine of doing things constantly and plan your day. I think it's very hard for a lot of people to actually keep the consistency, keep the momentum, and actually find what's actually working for them.
Exactly.
For me, I would say there's so many different ways to plan. It just didn't work for me, and it was horrible, right?
Yep.
And then I found something over the time, and thank God I'm consistent with it.
Same thing with my morning routine, right? Like it's, I had to work on it many times over, what time I woke up, what I do. And I found the sweet spot, which enables me to crush the rest of my day, right? And again, it's just a matter of like figuring that out, so.
Definitely. For a man, a lot of people see, actually I would say sometimes even me including, that job and work is the #1 priority for a man. The second is wife and family, because man lives work, because he's not him anymore, right? Sometimes if the man doesn't have a work, he can't be that perfect guy for that girl, right? So it's his passion, and I guess girls should respect that as well, right? And what is your perspective on it? Do you say that as well? Work should be #1 and should be respected. It's #1, and family second.
So what I've learned from On the Run Meals, and again, I started not off financial gains or financial goals. It had nothing to do with financial, right? Like that later came. It really started with a purpose, and my purpose from On the Run Meals was a selfish one, was to change who I was and how I was carrying my life and what I was able to do, but yet not doing. So fulfilling my full potential from whatever which way. So On the Run Meals gave me that, and how do I say this? Lost my train of thought. Sorry, you.
Pretty much, yeah. Is it fine to have work number one?
Oh, excuse me. Yes.
And family second?
So work. I think I'm gonna reword what your question was. Having work as number one should never be the goal. First and foremost, if I were to advise anybody, it's finding your purpose. Now, circumstantially, what you're doing today to gain finances, to financially come out or have, again, we all have bills, right? So let me give you a little quick story. I have a condo, let's just say, and I have to pay these bills. So I have this job, right? And I have to hit my 9 to 5. Now, as long as obviously I'm paying my bills and I'm, hitting my goals and whatnot, I'm fulfilling my duty for myself as myself, right? And obviously I'm contributing to the relationship at this time. But the man to be the only one working, or say that the man has to put work before his wife, is actually wrong, because I believe that your attention and your time should be definitely devoted to some sort of financial outcome, because at the end of the day, we do need money to pay for bills and food and stuff, right? But how you're getting that money is very important, because if you are fulfilling your purpose, like how I am, and I'm spending, say, 12 hours on the Run Meals and only 3 hours on Sasha, Sasha knows that I'm gonna give her the best 3 hours of my time when we do spend it together collectively, together as a couple. She's gonna get the best 3 hours rather than spending 12 hours a day with her and only 3 hours on my purpose or passion, and not being as fulfilled, and then being a bad boyfriend. So I see that question a little bit differently. I don't see it as work. Like, we all need to work, and I think equally men and women should be working. But it's like, it's a very complex question, because I don't know what people's financial goals are or what they aspire to have, but in life. But personally, moving forward, if I, hypothetically speaking, want to live $1 million lifestyle, and I don't have the $1 million lifestyle, my next business and my next venture will not be purpose towards money and gaining that $1 million in order for Sasha and I to live $1 million lifestyle. It's gonna be solely something that makes me happy doing. And if money comes after it, and of course I'm thinking financial as well, because again, you're talking about sustainability, you're talking about doing something for a long term, you need to obviously have some financials there to be able to pay your bills. But if that purpose is gonna bring me happiness and get me there, say 5 years later, I'm gonna choose that path than having to work fucking 5 years of doing things for 5 years to get there financially, just so we can live this lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely.
I'd rather be happy, like I said, throughout the journey rather than working only for the results. Do you understand? So, first and foremost, with everything, you have to be selfish. You always have to take care of yourself. When you're on a plane and they say, hey, put on your own mask, then put on your kid's mask, that's what I'm talking about. If you don't fulfill your needs, and I think humans have, it's a very little bunch of needs that we actually need. Everything else is a want, right? But as long as you fulfill your simple needs, I believe, how do I say this? You don't need much more than that. You just need to fulfill your purpose after that. You don't need all the extras.
100%. I have the same position. I agree with you.
It's like, we're always sold the term, the grass is greener on the other side, but it really isn't. You know what I mean? And for yourself, like, you say, hey, you have my dream car, right? But what if I turned to you and I said, Mark, you want my dream car? Go and mop those floors 190 times, 3 times in one night. So you're gonna do it, you're gonna mop one heavy, then do it again, and then one final mop, because that's how I mop. And then I also told you, go and answer 750 emails, bad ones, And then I also told you go and fix 300 delivery issues. And then I also told you there's going to be 300 supply issues along the way. You see, if I told you about all these problems, are you willing to now go and face all these problems to go and reach that goal that you want, that car? Right? Like,
yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
I mean, sometimes things that we wish for aren't really things that we want. Or better yet, things that we wish for, we're not actually aware of what we have to actually put in.
Put on the table, yeah, totally.
On the table to give out of ourselves in order to receive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
So, I don't know. I don't always think that my biggest blessings, I think one of my biggest blessings in Entrepreneurial Meals is not getting what I want.
Okay, so what was the first, pretty much? You said you didn't know what you were doing. You weren't sure, but you had that passion, you had that feeling, you wanted to execute it. But what was the spark that like changed everything? When did you maybe start investing into advertising now? Or
advertisement actually came 4 years later.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was just organic, right?
Everything was organic.
Wow.
Again.
So is your food.
Exactly. So listen, what I'm trying to say is that I took a different approach. A lot of people these days, they see a business online, they put an Instagram together, they're at home cooking meals, and they're putting ads up. And I'm like, oh my God, they have it so backwards, right?
So you should have first...
You have to have fundamentals put in place.
100%.
There's no such thing as you're gonna get $100,000, get a facility like this, and be able to execute the way we execute with the type of, with this type of setup, because you don't know how to. How are you going to know how to use these machines to its full potential without knowing how to use your oven at home? If we're particularly talking about this business, right? Like
exactly, and I would say it's always like having that many customers on your back, right? If you first you need to get one, you need to see what the one is, because it's so much easier for you to manage these 10 people first, understanding how to work with these people, because some people can't even work with 10 people, right? Some clients can get really mad, and if you have 100 clients now, and 50 of them are gonna get mad, that will hurt much more. So it's 100%. Steady growth is always
definitely. So that's what I mean is like, my whole how do I say it? Philosophy is like, we make thousands of meals now, but when we were making hundreds of meals or tens of meals and then turned into hundreds, throughout that whole process, every single meal mattered.
Yeah.
Till this day.
Yeah,
every single
100%.
meal. It can be 1,000, it then sums back down to the one, right? From the development stage to the moment they're putting these lids on, it matters.
100%. And I've seen this, we actually even talked about this before with you, how important it is that I've seen it in you. You pay so much attention into details.
Details are everything.
In marketing world, details rule. Details are the first things that customers will feel. They will understand, right? You say that you are, I don't know, not you personally, but somebody says that they're the best organic,
whatever it may be,
food delivery business, right?
Sure.
But in their, I don't know, what could it be? Maybe there's maybe salt that is different, right?
Yep.
And they use just a regular salt, right? Or some people make these claims and don't understand the details. They don't pay attention to details, and these are the first things that customers will see and understand, and that will hurt them and actually will hurt your brand. In your case, you've gone to the littlest thing,
of course,
the smallest details.
Everything matters.
And you executed. Even I saw you that you came in, you took a look at the meal. You said like something was off. You tried to change.
Yeah, yesterday I came by the operation and I walked through as I normally would, and I pick up several meals just because I want to check, and I noticed that some were a little bit light with a certain component of the meal.
Yeah.
And I made sure that the staff was on top of that, right? Like it's just, again, it was executed at a 90%, right? It was beautiful. Everything about the meal was beautiful. But if it was me there making every single meal, I would always want it 150%. So is that sustainable? Not really. But that energy that we put behind the meals is. If you have a culture around always trying to execute at 150%, 200%, 300%, whatever you want to call it, above 100%, and you land at 80 or 90, you're successful.
You having that momentum, you showing up all the time and stuff, has it affected to the actual delivery, or has it affected the service?
Without me being there?
Without you being there every
Definitely.
day, having the momentum?
100%.
Which way?
Throughout the whole process, right? So it all started with me, obviously, first stepping aside from the kitchen, because that's where I was most of my time. That's the biggest part of the operation, right? Is the actual food production. And a lot of people don't know how much goes behind it, right? As I mentioned, from getting the goods to prepping them, to cooking them, to packaging them, the whole 9 years. So as I stepped aside from every department and I had then hired a manager to take over, of course, no one's gonna do it like you. And ultimately, it is my baby. So I will care for it more than anybody else will. And I will always want to do it better than anybody else. But what I had to do is step aside from that thought process of having to do everything and hire people that can do these particular positions or these particular parts of the operation better than me. But what I had to teach them was my level of expectation from On the Run Meals. Because On the Run Meals now is not about Galin and its expectation. It's started with Galin and its expectation, which made it a standard for OTR. Now OTR expects it from the rest of its employees. So I just had to explain to my managers as I was transitioning out of each department, not my level, once again, OTR's level of expectation out of them. So one particular very primitive example is like when the meals are being packed on the outside of the meal, like the actual part of the container, as you're closing it, nothing can be on there. Like we have clean towels that we wipe them down because like details. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So like when it comes to like, for example, my packing supervisor, he knows that. He knows that every single meal needs to be clean, top. I should be able to open everything and there shouldn't be one thing on the side. It should be all in the container. That's just one little example, right? But obviously all my managers I've pretty much related my expectation out of them. I've given them the proper resources. I've taught them exactly how we do things. And I mean, they've made it better. So, yeah.
So how do you use this time right now? You have now more time. You deserve that time. Do you use it as a free time, or do you still, or you're still into the business, but from the other side?
So yeah, once again, I do spend a good amount of time still on the Run Meals, but I've moved on to several other ventures, personal ventures.
Is it a secret?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing fun. It's mostly financial.
Okay.
Because once again, I built OTR from nothing to do with finances, not even thinking about a dollar. I just kind of built it organically, just thinking about how I can provide people more with value. But through On the Run Meals and scaling On the Run Meals for the last 2 years, I've understood, the importance of finances. So I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. Now I'm just more or less spending some time personally reinvesting, my finances, and learning, more about finances, because I feel like the next ventures or, the lessons that I learned from here, I can reapply to On the Run Meals to help it properly scale, and create better profit margins and more value for our members. Because ultimately the goal is to provide our members with more value. And if I can make something cheaper because of a process change or a supply change without obviously sacrificing the quality, I'm going to do that, right? Because I understand that the financial reward will be to the member and to myself, right? Absolutely. So, I ventured off to several other things, and then, dabbling into another startup, but I'd rather not speak about that right now.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Are you a happy person?
Yes, I'm genuinely content. It's weird. And this is what I'm talking about, gratitude and being grateful. You hit me right now with like 3 emotions. I'm feeling emotions, right? Because I'm feeling the emotion of, of course I'm happy. What do you mean? Yeah. But at the same time, I wake up times where I'm not grateful. And that's why you have to practice gratitude. When they say practice, everything is a practice. Every single day you have to work at things. You think you have a great relationship with your girlfriend today, tomorrow brings new problems. And if you don't fix those problems, your relationship is not so great anymore, right? Everything's work and everything's practice. Like Jordan, after his 5th season, was already the best to ever friggin' play basketball.
Yeah.
He still kept shooting those 1,000 shots a day. Why? Because that's what made him greater, because he kept practicing every single day. So, happy. I'm not always happy. I'm content. I'm grateful. Happiness is an emotion that will come and go. It's being able to be grounded and grateful is what I think is most important.
Absolutely.
It's not happiness. Happiness is just an emotion. And humans are programmed, not driven, I apologize, it shouldn't be driven. It's programmed, pre-programmed. It's just in us. It's just how our brains work, psychology, right? To think more bad thoughts than good thoughts.
Yeah, even social media, when it comes to social media.
Don't even start with that. I don't even want to get into that conversation because that's a 5-hour conversation, right? But with that being said, you woke up happy, you get on social media, 1,000 bad thoughts. I'm not this guy. I don't have this guy's car. I'm not this. I'm not this fit. I'm not this. That fit guy is poor. And the guy with the car has no money. But you see how when you look at somebody else and you think, I don't have these things, and you don't realize their circumstances, everything's relative, right? So like me, myself, when I look at myself, I look in the mirror and I say, I have a great relationship, a mother that loves me, a mother that I'm grateful for beyond words can express, my brother that has always, forever had my back, even when I was the piece of shit that I was years back, that ungrateful piece of shit, excuse me. From the people that support me, from my advisors, my mentors, to like my team, to all like, there's a billion things, like I just said, like right now we're having this conversation, I'm able to talk, my back doesn't hurt today, my fingers are moving, like there's a million things today to be grateful for.
Exactly.
A million today, right now, so like, fuck happiness, you know what I mean? I'm always happy, right? Even when I'm unhappy, I'm aware of being unhappy, but in that moment, I'm grateful. Why? Because I know it's an emotion, and I also know that it's not here forever. So I'm happy. That's
exactly true. Yeah.
So I'm always
same thing. We are,
right?
Even when you work, I guess even you can have moments with your partner, and you realize like right now I'm not happy, or I'm just feeling horrible, or we just had a conflict. But it's just as long as you realize, you look at it outside, and you actually realize that this is an emotion, and it will pass. That's really important. Pretty much, if you could sum up the whole story of OTR from beginning to where it is now, take it and make it like 5 minutes or even less, how would you maybe explain all these ups and downs? What are the things that were working in your favor, that were great, that you think was the best thing ever? What are maybe opposites? What are the biggest ups and downs?
Yeah, so I mean, every moment of a business, or every there's a lifespan, right? So just look at yourself as an individual, right? Like if you're looking at a business, you should look at it as like a baby. When a baby is growing, they grow through different stages. So from the beginning point, it was just a matter of figuring out this fucking chicken breast. Like very primitive, very small. Like, what am I dealing with? This is this much weight, and then I have to cut off this much, and now I have this much. Like very simple. And then once I figured that out, and I understood, okay, this is what it is, now I have to understand the operation, right? So again, they brought another challenge, figuring out how to properly cook things, and properly cool things down, and properly, all of that, right? The next challenge came building a brand around it. How do you build a brand around it? How do you market this? I didn't get on Instagram till 3 years, 2.5, 3 years after I started On The Run Meals. Why? Because I wasn't ready and prideful enough and confident enough at that time to post pictures about my food or my service or anything. Why? Because we were still working on the service and the food. And then obviously the challenge and the brand. So once we put that together, we put together, you know, a nice packaging, a nice little sticker, because we didn't have stickers on our meals.
Right.
You know, once we did all that, we felt a little bit proud. We're like, okay, cool. Now let's do the advertisement. So that's where the organic growth came from, organic advertisement, excuse me, from Instagram, right? Started with 0 followers. We're currently at 14K, but it was all grown organically.
Exactly.
That
So
whole
this
community.
14K are 14K like pure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. None bought, nothing. We don't do that. There's just no reason.
There's no point
I mean,
to take-
I owe it to Brody. He's definitely amazing when it
Definitely.
comes to
I know him
social
as
media.
well. He's a great
yeah.
guy.
He's
Great guy.
awesome.
Yeah.
Most of the times.
All right.
I'm
so-
just joking, Brody. He's awesome.
most of the time.
No, he's great. He's great. And he's great at building the community. So again, that's what, again, at that point, it was about building the online community, because at the end of the day, how do I sell this food? I sell it online. So I have to build this online community. Unlike, you know, famous restaurants and whatnot that have their little community that you go to, ours is online. That's where you go to On the Run Meals' community, right? So, because we're an online business.
Right.
So we're not open to the public. So now we started building that, you know? And then after that, it was like, okay, cool, we get back into operations. Why? Because we got bigger and we started making more meals. Things change when you start making more meals. You need more prep cook. You need more prep. You need more cooks. You need more packagers. So finding that challenge. After that, it was a challenge of, you know, within that time, this was like year 3, it was solidifying, because from year 1 to 2 to 3, we were very thin. We were trying to do everything. We were doing catering. We were doing meals.
You need to focus on one thing.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
We were doing individual meals and whatnot. And then we kind of got rid of all that. We focused on exactly who we are, what we are. We figured that out by year 3.
That was our mistake in IAVA too. Like we tried to do everything, but when you really understand that, you know what, I really need to focus on one thing, and you wake up having that one thing in mind, it's so much easier, and it moves like not just like
Of course.
10 times faster. It moves
100
like
times.
100 times
100
faster.
times.
Because you always have that mindset. You're in the shower, you're taking a shower, and you still think about that thing. You're not. If you have many things, you just see things from the top, and it's much harder to really
100%.
plan things. That's at least what I found for me personally.
100%.
But I agree
Focus
with
to
you.
detail about one thing, and then you can move on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
But the main point is again, creating these pillars, creating this great foundation. Once we figured out who we are, what we are, we ended up, you know, gaining some traction. We gained social proof. We started noticing that people loved us, loved our meals. At that time, we were nowhere near the biggest company, or you know, anywhere near that.
Yeah.
But you know, we have this vision still. So we're executing, and then it came to a point where, you know, it was like, I think it was a very pinnacle point where, you know, the whole industry. So our name is really outside of everybody else's. Like in the industry, like everybody has like these like, I don't know, whatever names, right?
Okay.
We felt like we were very relatable. But what wasn't relatable was my first logo, right? And I was very attached to it because it had a lot of me in it.
It was black and green.
It was black and it had the wink.
Yeah.
And it's part of my personality. And one of my advisors and got his creative director at the time to create something that resembled me, because at that time, On the Run Meals was me. It was me selling it. It was me making it. So, you know, let's sell the story of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But because it became much bigger at that point, and there was an actual team around, there was the moment where we rebranded. And at that point, brought a new armor, brought a new level of confidence, because we knew what we were doing. We knew we've done things really well. We just started believing, because it's like, I don't know if you've ever played any sort of sports, but it's like getting that new jersey, you know? It's just like, you just feel better. You're like, I'm not any better player, but you play better because you just feel better. You're like, yeah, you got new armor, right? So that was a very pinnacle point. At that point, you know, we kept working. We ended up getting our photography at that point. So that was a really huge point, because we wanted to now.
And that's how many years in? That's 4,
This
right?
is fourth year, right? We started showcasing all of, you know, our products finally. We started taking nice pictures. Our 5th year, so from mid-4th, I then was another bit of pinnacle point where the industry took a little turn. Couple of the big guys that were in the industry, I don't know what happened to them. but they no longer were there, and I felt that there was an opportunity to be captured. And at that point, I ended up acquiring a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, and at that point, I started advertising. That was my first Actually, let me take a couple steps back. I tried advertising by myself, by just clicking ad, blah 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 on Instagram and putting out an ad, and
Nothing worked.
well, yeah, it worked. It brought 1, 2 here and there, but my acquisition cost was $50 at that time. So
Where did you advertise?
I just advertised on Instagram, Facebook, right? Okay. And then I brought in a CMO, and that was really the pinnacle point because the CMO has built many businesses before, and he understands advertisement, he understands my business. He looked at it and he's like, man, you have the whole package, I just need to put it out there. Advised me on many things, and that's how I met you, remember?
Right. I think it was sooner. I think
it was right before that, 100%. Yeah, it was before that. We did the video and whatnot. That's when we rebranded. You came in with the rebrand.
I came when the rebrand. Oh yeah, that's right.
You did.
That's right. That's the.
You guys were there for the rebrand.
That's right.
And then after the rebrand came my CMO, and that's when we started filming again more videos. And then right after that is when we exponentially started growing. Like it was, at that time we were bringing in say 10 new members, maybe like a week, maybe. We were sitting at 70, 80 members. This is organically grown. These are like guaranteed 80 a week. And out of those 80, we were retaining like 60, 70. As soon as my CMO came, a month later, we were acquiring, 50 people new a week, or not 50, I apologize. Well, 20, 25. So again, exponential uprise, and we just haven't stopped. So we went.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, so we pretty much went from 70. A couple months later, my goal was, that perfect 100, right? Like I was for 4.5 years, I was waiting for the 100, right? And again, I wanted to get there organically before I put in even $1 of advertisement, because I wanted to prove that I can get 100 recurring members, no matter what, buying off of me before I go and try to get the thousands. And we jumped from 80 to 150 before I can even celebrate the 100. And we had a joke, me and Sasha, because we were like, man, we didn't even fucking blink, and we're at 150, and we didn't even have our celebratory whatever drink or party or whatever you want to call it, like a moment to acknowledge it, because we moved so fast, so quick.
You don't realize. Yeah.
So yeah.
How many people you currently have in?
We're doing about 400 deliveries bi-weekly, so twice a week. Yeah, so we have 400 members.
And how many meals?
That's about, I think yesterday we did about 2,900, 3,000 meals.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And each meal is?
About $15, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so pretty much when you initially started as well, was the competition much less? Was there any competition? That was a brand new thing, right? There wasn't too many back then. So
the competition in the industry back then was really designed and marketed towards elderly people.
Really?
Yeah, so when I first got in, or even understood what meal prep was, it was mostly for that. There was 2 companies that had come out years before I did, maybe 2 years before I started, that came in and they started selling fitness. They started selling the image. So if you eat healthy food, you're gonna look like this. And that was the direction that I was ultimately gonna take. Because again, why reinvent the wheel? But, something in my gut told me that it wasn't really the right decision. And of course, my advisor at the time, from Michael to another advisor that, is my brother's friend, that, was just explaining to me what business was at the time, because again, I didn't know how to write an email, never mind fucking business. He explained to me, he's like, when you walk into the gym, first and foremost, how many people go to the gym? Right? So you look at 10 of your friends, how many of those 10 friends go to the gym? Let's just say 2, because ultimately it's not 10, it's probably not 5, say 2. Okay, you bring those 2 people and you go to the gym, and you go to their gym, and now you look at the gym and you say, out of everybody in this gym, how many people have abs? How many people are rock hard? How many people are doing this physically and solely for a physical look, right? How many people are in there killing themselves? I'd say about 5-10%, maybe at a high,
Not
maybe. And the rest, what? Are regular people. Why? because they want to lose a little bit of fat, they want to gain a little bit of muscle, they want to feel better. So I was enlightened about the fact that there's this 90% of people, which is, I just want to live a healthier lifestyle, and I go to the gym. It's a part of my life. Not taking this food and advertising and posting it on Instagram next to a girl with her ass, or some guy flexing like this with a meal. Like, that's relatable. Like, if I eat this food, now I'm gonna have muscles like him, or have an ass like her. It was just like, I don't know, I felt like that was a false advertisement. And we took it the other way. We wanted to empower people. We want to empower people by, the food that they eat. Because if you consume great nutrients, you feel better. If you feel better, when you look in the mirror, you look better. And if you look better, you're inspired to do things.
Exactly.
Right? So I took it in that direction.
I would say you look better, you feel better.
It's both.
And then
you'd be surprised.
Better, you're
You'd be surprised though. You think if you look better, you're gonna feel better. But what you don't understand is, after that workout, it hurts, right? When you first start working out, you're like, oh my God, everything hurts. And then you learn to love the pain, right? So what are you think you're gonna look great before you learn to love that pain? No, you learn to love that pain before you look. So you actually feel great before you look great. You never look great and then feel great. Now, there's days, why we always say feel great, look great, is one example. You see this outfit you're wearing? You chose it today.
Right.
Try to choose it tomorrow. Try to choose it the next day. And tell me you feel the same. You're gonna be like, fuck this shirt. Yeah. These pants don't fit well. I don't like it today. I was
thinking about that this morning as well.
This morning, right? But how about the time when you put those pants on and you're like, damn, these are the pants today. Like, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
Do you see how feel is always before look?
Yeah.
That t-shirt that you're gonna wear may not feel the same.
That's interesting.
You have to feel it to look it. It always starts with a feeling. Everything's a feeling, right? You think when people get abs because because they're eating low carb meals or whatever it may be, they change their diet and they've done this whole change. You think they're inspired just by the way they look? If they felt like shit the whole way through, they wouldn't look great. Right. They feel, they're getting up. They feel like they have more energy. And then, they look a little bit different, but they think they look a lot better because they're feeling that. So the look is really the feeling. Yeah. And like I said, with women, they struggle with this a lot. And it's like I just said, they put on this dress and one day they're bloated in it and one day they're not. And it's their favorite dress. So it's very important to put on something and then feel, or just, feel first before you look. It's the most important thing.
Do you pay attention to your competitors?
Do I? I used to, of course. There's always something to be learned. But no longer, no. We haven't, for the past 2 years, because we've been scaling very aggressively, noticed that a lot of people have, copied us. Did I do that at one point? Of course I did. Yeah. Any smart business
Is it bad to copy?
No. Every smart businessman, if you're getting into business, you don't reinvent the wheel. You do it better. You either do it cheaper or you do it better. I chose to do it 10 times better. Now, along that way, did I copy a bunch of companies? Yes. And earlier when I said in year 3, 4, when we finally solidified our identity to who and what OTR is, and then from there, we then rebranded and said, this is what we stand for, there was no turning back. It wasn't looking left and right and trying to copy companies, because at that point, it was who we are.
The leader won't look back. It will keep going.
Sorry?
The leader won't ever look
back. No,
back.
never.
They will keep going.
Exactly. And at this time, I believe we are the pioneers of the industry.
But that gives you an extra responsibility to always keep ahead.
Of course.
Always back.
But we're always moving forward. We never stop getting better. So it's my promise to the company and the company's promise to our members, and including our team. It's the model of making people better and grow. Right. The solution isn't just for the member that's getting the food. It's for the team as well. I can point out 3, 4 people on my team that started with nothing and now they're like pretty much running the company in their particular position, right? So it's because they chose to get better and the company rewarded them and put them in a better position. That's what this company is about, right? Like anybody that comes in here that's actually a part of this team, they have to have that mindset, that culture.
Definitely.
They have to be able to adapt
Definitely.
and come into our culture, which is always getting better. I don't care if that meal looks amazing today. It better look better tomorrow. That's the name of the game. It doesn't matter what it is.
Always day one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we're always pretending as if we're on day one and we know nothing. Because it'll never change. Like if one thing won't change is that. We will always get better. Will we make mistakes? Of course. Will we screw things up? Of course. There's a lot of things that, hey, OTR did it better 3 months ago. Yeah, no shit, because we're focusing a lot of our energy on this, right? But our goal as a whole is to get better. And sometimes in order to get certain things better, certain things you need to like not pay as much attention to in order to, build this pillar. And then later on, you rebuild this pillar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the ultimate goal and vision and what OTR stands for is growth, right? That's simply it. OTR was me. I was 100% OTR. If OTR failed, I failed. I'm way past that. If OTR today fails, tomorrow, fucking get hit by a fucking meteor and we just filmed this, we're talking about success, tomorrow I'm failed. It doesn't fucking matter. Why? Because it's me. Now, how do I say this? I would feel bad of how it impacted everybody else around me, but me, fucking take the sweater off and take everything off me. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm always gonna win.
100%.
I'm always gonna win. Why? Because I know what I have inside me, and what I have inside me is just. It comes down to this, man. The mindset. Like it's just like I'm like you can't beat me. I can lose many times over, but you can't beat me. Why? Because I can't lose. Right? Like I can lose, but I won't lose. Like
That's
if I put my
mentality.
Yeah, like if like for example, like if I'm very, how do I say it? I'm very understanding of reality. If I want to become a professional hockey player, are you crazy? I'm way past that point. Physically, I can get as fit as a hockey player. And I can become kind of as good. But in reality, it's a business. There's no way they're gonna friggin' scout a 40-year-old hockey player. You know what I mean? Like, it's not right for business. So, but I could train as hard as them. I could skate as well as them. If I put my mind to it, of course I can do anything in this fucking world, as well as anybody, as long as I put my mind to it, and with amount of time. Now, if I was to become a doctor, is it gonna take me 8 years and 9 years? No, it's gonna probably take me fucking 20 years. But trust me, I'll become a doctor, right? If I have enough lifespan, enough time, I can do anything.
If somebody right now, a kid again, let's go back to the same kid who is right now sitting at home, he got inspired and he wants to know like, can he actually earn money here? And wants to know about maybe margins.
Yeah.
What could you share? What are the margins in food business?
So restaurants, food, it's a very dangerous business. Normally 90% of them fail. It's just a statistic.
It's crazy. It's crazy just to survive.
It is. I think they fail because...
Not to mention nowadays.
Exactly, especially now with Corona, right? The problem really is with the food business is everybody, I think, besides chefs, right? You built the name, you go and open up a restaurant, they're here displaying their skill set, their passion. But most people that open up restaurants and whatnot, they just have a skill that they want to just make money off of. And the problem is this is 99% of people, even maybe 100. Most people are just in it to talk about what's the outcome of it, right? Like what they're gonna receive. And what they're looking about receiving is money ultimately, because people think that monetary value is ultimate value. So like talking about, if I come here for 8 hours and I get paid this much, that's amazing. But what they don't understand is that certain jobs, you get paid $25 an hour, great, cool. But you're getting screamed at, and you have this energy in you, like now you're sacrificing your well-being for $1. So that's the problem in the food industry, is that people come in and they come in just trying to make money. There's no real tangible thing. But the reason why I feel I've succeeded is that food is everything. It's like, I'm sorry, but humans need to what? Drink water and eat food. So I see the importance of food. And I also value the importance of a home-cooked meal. Why? Because I My mother was a single mother working fucking 24 hours, 8 days a week. I didn't know what a home-cooked meal was. And I guess I value it a lot more. And I value value. Mm-hmm. I value the dollar, I value the penny, and I value the $100. I just try not to, how do I say it, devalue anything in life, because everything has value. So in the food industry, yeah, it's anywhere from 8% to 18, 20% profit margins. But unfortunately, if you're only thinking about those profit margins without actually saying, hey, this is how I'm gonna provide this value, there won't be any profit margins, right? So when I came in here, I was like, hey, I'm gonna save people time. I'm gonna get these 10 clients of mine, 10 to 15 clients of mine to stop bothering me 23 hours of the day. Why? Because I'm gonna give them the food for them to eat without having to ask any questions, right? I thought about value. I didn't think, hey, instead of getting paid for an hour, $100, I'm gonna be able to make $50 off this guy, see him once a week, right? And now I can have 10, 20, 30 of them, right? Instead of having to go 1 hour, then travel, you know what I mean? So I thought about one thing, value. How do I provide them value? Because like that hour I was spending with them was the 23 hours that they were asking me about. Now I'm fulfilling those 23 hours rather than the hour. So it was value I was thinking. I wasn't thinking, how much money am I gonna make off this guy if I step aside? Because I was making less as I stepped aside, right? I was making $100 an hour. Now I have to deliver twice a week, deliver to him to make what, maybe $50, $40? But look where I am today, because I had that mindset, right? It was just value, value, value. So the food industry is a very dangerous thing, because it's made up of, you know, location, which wasn't my problem, because, you know, we're online. But also how good your product really is. Like, are people coming back? You know what I mean? There's like a lot of these places, like it's all about hype, because fucking Instagram, you know? A lot of people take pictures because it looks great. But how many times do people actually go back to that place? How many times do people call that my go-to?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of these, like Poke Bowl is one of my perfect examples. There's like, I've tried fucking over 20, 25, and they all advertise this like amazing, wicked pictures, everything. And then like I eat it, I'm like, damn, this sucks. It's like anyone can defrost a bunch of frozen veggies and put raw salmon in something and put it together, you know, cook some rice and put it together.
Yeah.
But like this place, it's called Hokey Pokey. And I'm gonna say it, Hokey Pokey, they're my girls, I love them. Why? Every time you go there, they make the same thing, the same as even 2 restaurants down. But the energy that they fucking put behind it, you see them work, you can tell details. The way that the torch, just everything that they do. And then when I eat it, I'm like, fuck, that's the difference. It's that they're literally, they're providing you value because it's 10 times better. It's also weight-wise same, and the price is relatively the same. But their product is 10 times better. Why are they succeeding? Why are they my go-to? Why are they always, every single time I go there, they're busy, and then the guy across the street isn't? It's because they're just half-assing it. Did I eat from there? Yeah. Crap.
Details matter again.
Crap. I saw how he made it. I was just like right there and then I knew. So food industry is a very dangerous thing. You have to know why you're going in there.
Totally.
Can you make money? Yes, you can make a lot of money. Of course you can. But
there's a very big chance that you're gonna fall out.
And then there's the other side to it. It's like, hey, you have a lot of money. You see that there's a need, right? There's like this industry that's blowing up. You're like, hey, I'm gonna put a lot of money into it. But once again, if you don't understand supply chain, you don't understand logistics, you don't understand operations, good luck. It's a very dangerous road to go down. Yeah. So the food industry is not something I advise people to get into. If I were to look back and say something to myself, I would tell myself one thing. This is the worst and best thing you're gonna do in your life. Worst because literally it's the hardest business ever, meal delivery service. It literally is. Because we don't serve food right in front of your face. You don't like it, cool, bring it back, we fix it right away. Like we're serving you 12 meals and then having to hear about it, having to, you know, like there's too many points where we can lose money. In the restaurant industry, it's a lot easier. It's a lot personable. It's like person to person. So looking back, I would say it's the worst decision I've ever made, but also personally the best, because it was the hardest business I could have possibly got into.
And you succeeded.
Exactly.
How much do you sleep?
I mean, now or before?
Both. Then and now.
So I look at sleep as like emotions. They come and they go. There's days that you're gonna sleep and there's days that you're not. You know, problem is like people think that everything in life has to work the way that they think that it has to. And adversity is the most important thing in entrepreneurship, is facing it. So there's days where I thought, I was gonna get through my day in say 10 hours. Unfortunately, supply issue made me go back 2 hours. I got lazy because I spent 2 hours going to get something. That took me back another 2 hours, which then it resulted in a 5-hour sleep. Now, what did I do? I went home. I said, fuck, I'm not gonna go right to sleep. I'm tired of shit, but like, I need some sort of dopamine, right? I need some sort of like, something for myself, like something good to eat, some sort of like pleasure, right? So I'd stay up for an extra hour. So what it resulted in a 4-hour day. The next day, did I complain about it? No, because I knew that all this time that I was putting into something, that's what it demanded out of me. Now today, it's relative. Do I want to take my company and 5x it? Because if I do, I'm going back to those days, those 19-hour work days. Why? Because there's always more to be done. There's always things that can get better. You understand, right? Like, in order to scale something, I'm gonna have to start working on a 5x plan at this size, right? Like, so it's relative to what you want. For health purposes, 6 hours.
6 hours?
6 hours. Fuck off. I don't care if you love to sleep. Do you love money?
Yeah.
Then stop fucking liking sleep.
I mean,
you love your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Get up off your ass and stop sleeping in bed and go make her breakfast, right? Like, you're jealous of that guy that is more fitter than you? Then stop fucking sleeping. Get up off your bed and go. You know what I mean? Like, sleeping. Like, it's now on the other side, it's very important. When I had those 6 days in a row, 18-hour days, every day, like, man, there's a point where I was literally delusional.
Definitely.
And you need to sleep. You actually need to. But sleep is overrated. And you know why it's overrated? Because our bodies can literally run off of 5 hours, 4 hours a day. It literally can. And our minds definitely can. It's just how you back the other 20 hours. So there's people that they are up for 18 hours a day or 19 and they only sleep 5-6 hours, but they eat like shit. They don't train. They don't think happy thoughts. They don't educate themselves. They're just negative. So they're deteriorating. But then there's people like, these high performing athletes. Athletes is a perfect example. High performing entrepreneurs, they're 40 years old, sleeping friggin' 4 hours, 5 hours. They look like they're 40. They don't look like they're 60. They look like they're 40. They look healthy. They look amazing. Everything's great about them. Why? Because they're eating healthy, because they're training, because they're applying the same thing that they're applying to their goals, their purpose, they're applying everywhere in their life because they understand the importance of time and they're not wasting time, right? If you're a guy that sleeps for 8 hours, that's great, as long as you're not friggin' wasting the other,
it's about what you do during the
hours.
day, I would say. I would say like
18 hours.
That's my position is like, it's really what you do during the day. It's about proactivity.
Or night. It doesn't matter when you sleep.
It's what
you do with your time.
It's being proactive. So
yes, proactive.
For example, you sleep the whole day. You got 2 hours and then you're gonna go back to sleep. It's about what you do in these 2 hours, right? So
exactly.
That's
and it's relative, right? Because me running a meal prep company and then you running a meal prep company, you're gonna need thousands of hours. I'm gonna need an hour too, right? So it's all relative.
I mean, definitely. I have a bit different perspective. I think that sleep is the number one thing, actually. I think that there's a lot of science, actually. There's a lot of science that is right now just like, I think it was Matthew, I don't remember his name. He's a crazy guy. I think he even has a masterclass, and he explains the actual importance of sleep and the fact that people actually, if you sleep even 6 hours, you can take a measure how your brain certainly shuts off
100%.
sometimes, and when we are awake, we actually get small brain damages, and during the night actually it kind of repairs. So me personally, I do think that sleep is important. I sleep 7-8 hours.
Yeah.
But it's about how I plan is what I can do within these other hours, you know, and that's, I think, the most important. So even if you sleep 4 hours and you fuck the rest of the day, that's even worse, because
Of course.
you have more time to do things and you just didn't
See, with
do
the 8 hours, it's fine, right? Like, it's nothing wrong with sleeping 8 hours. You see, the problem with people are they'll sleep 8 hours, but they'll also watch 4 hours of Netflix.
Oh, definitely.
So then right there, you're 12 hours in.
Yeah.
And then when you wake up, you've done nothing really good for your brain or body.
Yeah.
And what do you do with the other 12 hours?
Yeah.
You just procrastinate and you just kind of waste the time, right?
Definitely.
I think the most important thing that people forget with time, it's not being busy, because right now, you and I are very busy. We're busy filming this right now, right? We're busy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm busy. But if On The Run Meals needed something from me right now, which it doesn't, but if it needed me right now, I'm busy filming something for On The Run Meals. What the fuck do you mean, On The Run Meals, you need something from me right now?
Yeah.
But I'm not being productive with my goals with On The Run Meals. And that's why I'm doing this, right? You're asking me about On The Run Meals. So again, you see how busy and productivity can be two different things? People out there, they just want to feel like they're doing things. So they'll pretend like they're busy. They'll spend all this time on this.
That's 100%, and I agree with you more. It's actually, sometimes you spend the day, and during the day you're like, oh, I did something, I feel good, but actually, what the fuck, that was illusion right now. Like sometimes you think that you did something, but indeed it wasn't. Because for me, it was many days. I'm just like looking, I'm like, oh my god, that's great. Another day passed, and because I can't fall asleep if I haven't done anything.
Yep.
And sometimes I used to trick myself, like not trick myself, but I used to be illusional and think that I actually succeeded something and something went right. But indeed, when I actually look at it, what I've done is like, I did this within these 14 hours or whatever the time was. I did only this, which I actually could have split it. So definitely, I think you should be really mindful of what you're actually doing, plan your stuff.
Definitely.
And have a routine, because I think having not only routine, but discipline in sleep, what time you go to sleep, because it's super important. Discipline in your finances, because
it's discipline. I don't
crazy.
believe it's routine. Routine is very important.
Yeah, you're right. I fixed myself. Yeah, routine.
Yeah, it's disciplined and consistency.
Right.
Again, relative to your goal.
100%. Yeah.
Right. So if I'm relatively right now saying, hey, I want to practice gratitude, and you know, for a yoga master, she comes in and she practices gratitude and she finishes, you know, and she gets in like a thing stage. What's it called stage?
So that's for. I guess we should move away.
Bro, no, I'm not gonna move. He's gonna go fucking around me.
Okay. All right, that's good.
Could have gone the other fucking way. You just left, you asshole. Put that on camera. Fuck.
What did he do?
No, he just left. The same truck just left. He went around and he knew that he didn't go. Like, anyways, people.
Anyways, all right.
So back to the point. Where were we? Oh, yeah. So, sorry, you were saying. Hold on.
I was saying about routine and.
Oh yeah. So, you know, it's relative, right? Because like, you know, if you're always in a routine, the same exact routine, you're gonna be in the same exact position you were yesterday.
Yeah.
But when you have consistently doing, you're fulfilling certain tasks or certain goals, right? You're fulfilling consistently towards your goal, your routine may change, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because
definitely.
if I'm trying to physically, like I'm just a perfect example, I'm trying to physically be fit, and today so my consistency is based off of working out. But my routine changes. Today, I'm working my biceps, and tomorrow I'm working my chest.
Yeah.
You see how the routine changes?
Definitely.
And also, so does the time devoted. Chest is a much bigger, you know, or I'm lacking my chest as more than I am with my arms, so I'm gonna focus more on my chest. So circumstantially, the time that I have to devote to my chest has to be more than my arms.
Yeah.
Arms, I'll come in there 30 minutes, chest, I'll be there for an hour and a half. Why? Because circumstances have changed.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal is stay the same, which is being consistent to getting fit, right? And again, working towards it every single day rather than, and being productive with it, excuse me. Not
That's important,
going into the gym and spending an hour and a half on my arms when I know all I needed was a half an hour. Do you see?
Yeah.
Because
100%.
the day before I spent an hour and a half on my chest. Do you see how like?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I mean by productivity, and it's circumstantial to the next task that you're performing based off of whatever goal you're aspiring to achieve.
One of the last questions is, are there things that your customers don't see or don't pay enough attention to that you would actually want them to, that you would want them to appreciate a bit more, but they seem not to really?
Yeah.
That's kind of like hidden gems, you know?
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I think I would like them to, if anything, like I would just like them to like, just anything in life. It's not just my members, it's people. It's to be grateful. You know, just to like sit back and like, even in our worst time, and by worst time, like we might have made a mistake on one meal or whatever that may be, you know, to just sit down and just be grateful and just understand that like, ultimately our intentions are very positive. They're always thinking about you as a member. They're always trying to do the best by the member. That's like, if we don't do that, then we don't even want to show up, right? Like we're trying to be the best versions of ourselves.
Right.
And trying to provide you the best version of our food so you can be the best version of yourself, right? That's our ultimate goal. So in our failures, I would love them to be like a little bit more grateful and just understanding, if anything. Because like myself, you know, like I have certain subscriptions to certain things and like, you know, I get a little irritated here and there with like their customer service, but I also understand that like, shit man, like it's people, we're all people, you know, we all make mistakes and things don't always go right, and you know what, that's fine. It's how you react to, you know, making that mistake. Do you make up for it?
Your life is really, when you think about it, it's how philosophically it wouldn't sound, but your life is all how you react to things. How, yeah,
exactly.
So
of course, and that's what I would kind of ask or you know, say to our members. But it's not just our members; it's people. It's everybody.
So if there was one thing to say to your audience, would this be the thing to say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would. It would just be more grateful on a daily basis, right? Like waking up and you know, just being grateful for what you do have, not what you don't have, right? Like we're working towards what we don't have and what we want, and sometimes what you want is not really what you want. But what you need, you know what I mean, in life. Everybody needs love. Everybody wants, you know, to be loved, and everybody wants some level of financial security and all that.
Yeah.
But like, you know, just being grateful for what you have today, I think is like the most important thing. Like, you know, there's times even today I move so fast that I forget on that day, like I didn't practice gratitude. I just got irritated with left and right and not understanding that like, man, I feed people's families. I feed 400 people, well, 400 deliveries, never mind how many people out of those deliveries eat those meals. You know what I mean? Like, like I have a wonderful team that not only I trust, I love, and actually, you know what I mean? Like there's so many positive things that we can always look left and right to. I mean, fuck, right here, look. I'm speaking, I'm able to walk, I'm having this conversation with you, I'm grateful. Like tomorrow I have something wrong with my throat or my ear infection, whatever, you know, or something wrong with your eye or your elbow hurts. You're like, oh, I wish my elbow didn't hurt, you know? And it's like,
I'm been saying so many times that people, like, you don't you underestimate things, and you only realize the problem when it actually happens.
Exactly.
You don't learn to appreciate. I've been in a situation, of
course,
where I'm like I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Even like with minds, right? And you always look at it like this thing happens to people, but when it really happens, it's not. So definitely health is important. OTR is here for the health, pretty much. It helps you to do things on the run. It helps you to be healthy and things like that. So before we wrap this up, we're gonna do a quick blitz. You have to respond fast, but it doesn't have to be short.
Sure.
Blitz. Your favorite book?
My favorite, Mindset, Carol Dweck.
Okay.
I literally got a tattoo. I was inspired by Tom Bilyeu.
Yeah.
He's one of the outlets that I look for. And mindset, Carol Dweck. It's the single most, hold on, I have to make this very important for you to listen to. It's the single most important thing in life. Us as individuals, as humans, the only thing that divides, separates anything is the mindset. It has nothing else. It's not your culture, it's not your ethnicity, it's not whether you're a guy, girl, whatever you identify as. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just your mindset.
100%.
That's literally it.
Okay, next question. Speed or quality?
Quality, but depending on the time, speed is also very important because sometimes action is more important than quality. You need to just get it out there.
Fair. Favorite entrepreneur besides you?
Tom Bilyeu.
You could have said your brother.
No, not my brother. Tom Bilyeu. Tom Bilyeu, my brother inspires me as a person.
Yeah.
I have a lot to learn off my brother. My brother's fucking, if anybody knows my brother, he's amazing. He's the best person you can ever ask as a brother, never mind as a friend or anything. He lights up every room, but Tom Bilyeu. And he was literally through a screen. He's an entrepreneur, founder of Quest Nutrition. Anyways, long story short, Tom Bilyeu.
Okay. Your favorite meal in OTR Meals?
Pasta bolognese. That's that.
Let's go.
I have to. It was the one that I created. It was the one that I took the most pride in. It's still around after 6 years. It's the most simplest dish, but yet fucking amazing.
Okay. How would you explain OTR business to a 6-year-old child?
To a 6-year-old child, this is how the business or what we
business
do.
itself. What do you do in OTR Meals? What is the business about? I guess
the business. We make veggies. We make eating veggies and healthy food fun.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Which juice you like better, live or laugh?
Ooh. Live or laugh? Love. Love's my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the red one.
Okay. Biggest fuck up in your business?
Financial or personal?
Anything. The biggest fuck up you wish never happened?
There isn't any. I wish they all happen.
Okay.
I can't tell you that. I can't. My fuck ups are the reason why I'm here. I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
Okay. Path or result?
Path or result? Path.
Why?
It's the journey. Fuck the result. I've had so many results. Right? I could stop right now and where my financial goals were 5 years ago, I'm good right now. I can stop. It's not about the result. The result of what? Getting a brand new oven, getting a brand new facility? It's not the result. It's the journey. Fuck the result. Result is like, you think that's what you want. You think you're working towards that.
You're working towards a goal, and goal is technically a result. You always have to have a goal, right?
You definitely.
Say. But you always...
But if you're grateful for the journey, you're grateful for today, mostly if you're grateful for all your negatives, which is your failures, you'll learn to be present for those results. So I'm still challenged by this. That's why I will always, till this day, choose the journey, because I'm still learning to acknowledge and celebrate these results.
All right, so if you have any questions to ask Galin, feel free to do so. Galin is going to choose the best question, and for the best question is going to get a reward.
Definitely.
What is the reward? Do you have a reward?
Yeah, we'll give them a week's worth of meals. We'll give them a little bit of an experience, with what we have to offer and what we're all about. Yeah, I'd be more than glad to do that.
Perfect. Send all your questions.
Yeah.
And man, it was a pleasure to work with you, man.